Hi everyone, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com and I'm back with another energetically channeled video. This video is about a very polarizing young woman born on June 16th of 1984 at 7:42 a.m. in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She is a public figure. People follow her for advice and self-help on how to fix herself. She pretty much has pissed everybody off in the mainstream medical community with her ideology that it is a spiritual malady that is causing your issues and trauma that's causing your issues. And they have accused her of going against the medical community and denying mental illness in favor of spiritual practices and healing, etc. She has people that are hugely loyal to her and understand what she's saying 100% and have been helped by her. And then she has people trying to discredit her pretty much daily, and most recently in a documentary that she allowed to be filmed, which she then subsequently said, that's not what happened. They switched my words and changed the narrative. Now, I will give her that. If you're working on a documentary with these production companies, they will most certainly switch your wording and make you appear in the most graphically incorrect way by editing out certain things and then taking it out of context and putting it out there publicly because it's better for their sales. So they're disingenuous in how they present things. You have to know who's presenting it and what their belief system is to begin with before they present it. You know, having worked on these type of things for years, that's a thing. So what you have to know, and this would be my advice to anybody prior to them doing a documentary, is you need to get your contract buttoned up where they cannot present you in a light that is unflattering or in a way that is divisive to what you have created, because then you're going to spend the next 15 years defending yourself, which you shouldn't have to, but that's what's going to happen, right? So, and I'm not saying it's true or not in the documentary, I'm saying that's what she's saying. So she's publicly speaking about this at this point. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Teal Swan. She is a self-help, spiritual healing person who really started doing her videos in the early 2000s and built a following that is just huge. She has taken her business and she has morphed it several times, which is beautiful. She is a wood rat in Chinese astrology, and if you know anything about rats, they walk between the veil. If you look at them, they are able to understand the energy around them and bring one aspect of it into another aspect, which is to climb ladders, kind of like Jacob's ladder, climb through the dimensions in order to get to where they need to be and to understand things. They are considered in animal magic to be those that can bring about tremendous change, either for good or bad, depending on which way the energy is flowing with that rat energy. She is an 8 in numerology, which ties her to the earthbound expression of monetizing your abilities, whatever they are. And that's exactly what she's doing. She's built a huge millions of followers. There are people that live in her compound or her property with her, which reminds me of every other cult leader out there. You look at the Davidian cult, you look at the Manson cult, you look at Jim Jones, they want to follow that lifestyle as it's presented. So they will work off their room and board and put their lives aside in order to elevate their cult leader. Not saying she is one, I'm saying this is what she's been accused of, and that's a little bit along the lines of how she's performing. However, let's look at her chart. So as I said, she was born on June 16th of 1984 at 7:42 a.m., making her, first off, a Cancer rising. So she's Sun in Gemini. She's Moon in Aquarius. She's Mercury and Venus conjuncting the Sun in the sign of Gemini. Venus practically sits on her Sun. It's combust. It's the same degree. It's off by seconds. That is like glued together, giving her the benefit of physical beauty, symmetry in the face, symmetry. She has a tremendous ability to speak and bring people in because she's so beautiful to them energetically. It shines beauty over the essence of who you are, whether you're blessed with it through your DNA. And she's an attractive woman. Whether you like her or not, you can't call her ugly. So that's the Venus on the sun. Now, Mercury on her sun, Mercury in Gemini on a Gemini sun, your ruling planet sitting on your sun, is so beautiful for the acquisition of a higher intellect. So these people, Geminis in and of themselves, come from a home where they are parentified early on in life due to the immaturity of the parents. And I don't care what the parents do. They could be both doctors, Harvard grads, doesn't matter. Something in their parenting is immature. The Gemini child, in order to survive, has to learn everything about their immediate environment, their religion, philosophies, what happened down the street at, this house, that house. Read the paper in your country so you can inform yourself. They're often well versed in a multitude of different areas of life. They had to be. No matter how skilled their parents are, they had to be. So they take the position of neither male or female. They take the position of parental. So I am now parental. And when you add that to her Cancer rising, it makes sense why she's trying or presenting herself as trying to heal people from their early traumas. Now, the Cancer rising is a person that comes into this world and immediately feels abandonment, whether it's legitimate. Well, it's legitimate because they feel it, but Cancer being the most abandoned, orphaned, and adopted sign in the zodiac, any of those three things can be your childhood, but it can also be the parents who work too hard and don't have time to spend with their kid, or it can be the parents who didn't understand the child and have an issue with the way the child expresses themselves, which I believe is what her particular instance is in this life, is that she was misunderstood as a child. She's also coming from tremendous trauma, according to her. So she's coming from satanic ritual abuse in childhood. Those are her words, not mine. And as a survivor of that, she had to fine-tune her psychic ability. That all says Cancer rising to me, by the way, but it even more says she's got Mars and Saturn in Scorpio conjunct, off by 1 degree. So they're like right on top of each other. So that Mars is somewhat forcing the issue of karmic expression. And to tell you the truth, what I really wanted to look at when it came to Teal Swan is I wanted to look to see if I could find what was in her chart that she describes as this is her mission and her job in life, to help people heal and to put them on a correct path. I wanted to see if this was in her head, or if this was really like ego, or if this was really visible in her chart. And I found it, in my opinion. So first of all, when you're dealing with the North Node versus the South Node, the South Node is where we've come from. The North Node is where we're going to. Instantaneously, I see Chiron conjunct the North Node in the 11th house in the sign of Gemini. She is a Gemini sun. She has to learn how to communicate with the North Node in Gemini. What is she communicating? She's communicating Chiron, the wounded healer, childhood trauma, her childhood trauma, in order to open up other people's childhood trauma in order to help them heal. That's legitimate in her chart. Now, she often speaks about being psychic, being a medium, and being able to communicate through the Akashic or the Akasha records, which, if you remember the movie The Investment Bureau with Matt Damon, that is a representation of the Akashic records. The Hall of Libraries is what it's called, and people go there to pull their soul book out. Where has your soul been? But if you watch the movie, you'll notice that it's constantly changing what they want him to do on earth and what he wants to do. So your book or your frequency in that energetic library. It's not a literal library, but they show it to us because we don't have a concept of like what the energy's like on the other side, as in it's a non-physical thing, so it's hard to describe unless it's described physically. But the Akashic records, you can change your direction because you're living your life right now. So where people have a misconception, from my understanding of it, where people have a misconception is that you are stuck following the path that was assigned for you at birth. But we have free will here, so that path is forever changing. Certain things, certain landmarks are going to happen, like the birth of your kids, the death of certain people, etc. But where you go and traverse in between can alter those books. And it's your soul history and everyone's soul history throughout time, along with world events. Like if you're living in this time frame at this time and you want to know what really happened, it'll show you what happened and then how we saw it and what was supposed to happen. So it is a documentation of all things that we live and experience here. I don't find it unusual that she says she can access that, because people can access it. They also mock her, which I'm sure it's because she's doing so well financially, they're going to want to take her down. But they also mock her for her abilities, her gifts, as they call them. Well, if you're actually born psychic, it's an ability. People mistakenly call it gifts. It's an ability or an attribute. Just like if you're born tall and you can actually be coordinated and play basketball, it's an ability, okay? It's a skill that you have earned, and your genetic structure brings it about in this lifetime. Now, since she was a child with satanic ritual abuse and she experienced it, the reason that they do that is to open up all of those frequencies within your physical body. They traumatize you, they ritualize you in order to open them up if they weren't. And she called herself an oracle, which means she was a seer. So she already had to have that natural ability. I don't doubt any of that at all. People say that she wasn't ritually abused. Her family says that, so she's fighting it. I tend to take her word for it because during that time frame, she was born in 84, but in the early 80s, we had the McMartin case, if you remember it. And they called it a bunch of BS, and the kids, the little kids, the daycare kids, probably under 6, which is prime time when they target them, said there were, does this sound familiar? Tunnels underneath the daycare. Videos were taken of them touching and doing things, sexual acts, ritual acts, and the kids were accused of being brainwashed by counselors that fed them information. And then they had a court case in the mid-80s, and I think they were found innocent, and the kids were all called crazy. I happen to have run into somebody whose cousin was in that daycare and says it absolutely was a true thing. So when we're looking at things like this, we tend to poo-poo it because it sounds crazy. Satanic ritual abuse sounds fucking crazy. Normal, nice people that want their kids to be healthy and feed them and take good care of them and go on vacation don't want to think this exists. Well, in current time, we've come to the realization that a lot of what people experience in this life, trafficking, missing kids, murdered kids, is real. Tunnels, cages, and alternative religions. Just like if you go to your church and you describe it to somebody, it may sound crazy to me, but that's your belief system. These families, this is their belief system. She happened to have been ritualized in childhood. And when I look at her energy, I can see them targeting a child that the family doesn't have knowledge of, but the child, in order to control that child throughout life. I'm positive they do that stuff too. In fact, I know they do that stuff. It's almost common knowledge all over the place right now. There's nobody that poo-poos it. Back in the day, people like Geraldo, do you remember him? Oh my God, satanic panic, and they mocked it. So why does the media do anything? To make it not seem real, to make it seem fictitious, to make it seem like a lie, to make it seem flat out crazy. That's why they do it. They do it for that reason. It's not the right reason, but they do it for that reason. Back in the 80s when this was a thing, it's because it was being uncovered. People were starting to talk about it. So they had to run a smear campaign over here to make it seem crazy over here. Everything she describes, of course people are going to say she tried to manipulate in that. But when I look at her chart and feel her energy, she's born psychic. We've got the Mercury, the Sun, and Venus in the 12th house. Hidden enemies from a past life coming into this life. So both female siblings and father figure, son. It also opens up your psychic ability, loaded 12th house. Stellium in Gemini, communication with the other side, 12th house. And then you look at the other angle of that, and she has Neptune conjunct Jupiter in Capricorn in her 6th house. This is a complete clear channel to multiple sources of information, not just one here. So we know there's other dimensions. I mean, unless you're one of those people that actually like believes the establishment that this is it and you have to fear death and all of that. The one place I disagree with her in is she talks about the reincarnation cycle and has been accused of encouraging people to take their own lives. That is what happens to people that are schizophrenic and mentally ill when they do take their own life or high on drugs. That is murder from outside of self. That's what that is. So on a psychic level, that's murder from outside sources energetically that you can't prove. I heard a voice. It told me to do this. Well, that voice is actually a dark energy spirit, and we have not been taught to know that sometimes thoughts are placed in our head and they're not accurate and we do things. However, the way that she has described it is not the way that they're trying to accuse her of describing it. So she has clarified that. So she doesn't say, go ahead and off yourself. The thing that I disagree with her about is the reincarnation cycle. I think it's been hijacked. I don't think we're supposed to continually reincarnate back here. I think we've been led over this way. I think we're supposed to come here maybe a few times and then move on. But it seems like we're on this repetitive cycle. Anyway, when you look at her energy, what I found super fascinating about her chart is her North Node conjuncting that Chiron, the wounded healer, child healer. When I saw that in the 11th house, that opens up the framework for her to be able to guide other people to where she couldn't guide herself until she acknowledged her own trauma, which is exactly what she says she's doing. And that is locked in on her chart. So whether she's taken it in a different direction now, or she's gotten human with it, decided to fuck around with it, whatever, it's still in her chart. This is just really authentically what she's here to do. Now, with her moon in Aquarius, which is extremely stoic in nature, like it's a stoic way of presenting itself, with the moon in Aquarius in the 7th house, okay, in the 7th house, her emotional expression, being Aquarian by nature, okay, so she's Aquarius, her emotional nature, and the moon squares Pluto in her 4th house at the 29th degree. It's an out of sign square because the moon is at 1 degree Aquarius, Pluto is 29 degrees of Libra, the anaretic degree in the 4th house of home. She was a dominant, controlling, tyrannical child in the home. So if she didn't get her way, she was going to make you do it. All 4th house Plutos are like that. They're going to fuck with you till you pay attention with them. However, with that squaring the moon, having said that in the context of her entire chart, with that squaring the moon, first of all, Pluto-wise, she came in and switched genders in this life. Okay, she just switched. So she was male, she's now female. In this life I'm talking about. Prior life male, this life female. With the moon square, that's a mother wound. And the mother wound is with the expression of self and the home life. So this is where she's at odds with the way that she was brought up. Then if you add Saturn on the 5th house cusp from the 4th house, it's seconds off of the 5th house. So it's same degree and it's like 20 seconds off. It still resides in the 4th, but it's conjunct the house divider, the cusp, to the 5th. And so it's out of sign from Pluto, but it's in Pluto's ruling, the sign that Pluto rules, Scorpio, and it's conjuncting Mars, like I said. So you've got Saturn, Mars. Mars is placed right there in the 5th. Now, she also has the vortex, South Node, and Uranus in the 5th, with Uranus leading the pack towards her work in the 6th. This is fascinating because, first of all, Uranus on the South Node opens up the ideology that she is partially alien. And Uranus is the ruling planet of her moon in Aquarius in the 7th. So her mother tried to stifle her creative ability in a particular way. She, Teal, does not think she's fully human. She thinks she's a combination of human, hybrid, alien. She doesn't use the word hybrid, but she has called herself part alien, and we call that a hybrid. I have no doubt about that looking at her chart. Uranus on the South Node, she's coming from a lifetime where her expression was completely different than this one in this life. So the disconnect I totally get with her. I feel, when I'm feeling her energy, that a lot of what she does is in complete contrast to the way that her parents thought they were raising her. And I feel like she's trying to not heal the father wound, because they always say that. You got a father wound. You're too masculine. You didn't have a good father. La la la. Father wound. It's the mother wound with her in her particular instance. And through that, Cancer on the ascendant, she's able to mother and nurture others. But it's in a very disconnected way. She keeps her circle private. And in this documentary, it is said, I did not watch the documentary, but it is said that she was very dominant, if not rude, to certain people and gave the impression of being a narcissistic cult leader, which could be. However, I think it's more along the lines of some personality traits like that and other personality traits being misunderstood with a slight disconnect from social cues and a wanting to control her reputation and build her own family and not have it abandoned and not be abandoned by it. So I feel like it's this combination of all of that with her. On an energetic level, she, by the time she hits, and I'm talking about Teal Swan, by the time she hits 47, what's going to happen to her is she's going to have another, what we call spiritual awakening. And that spiritual awakening is going to elevate the concept of what she teaches. I do believe she's channeling information. I don't know, because her energy is very blocked and very gridded. So it's very specifically presented. She hides a lot of her energy. She is shapeshifting in her nature, so she will be what you want her to be or need her to be. And she has that type of energy where she's able to basically read the room and present what is needed, as is the case with a lot of healers and people who are open to doing the work, because it's very difficult work. You may have aspects according to your development. Nobody knows everything. Not me, not you, not her, not them, not anybody. You'll have levels of understanding of things based on what you understand, and then you can teach that. Her primary goal, she does get spiritual downloads, but her primary goal is to help those who follow her find their trauma and pull it out and heal it. That's actually what she's here to do. But has she gotten confused with the world and making money and traveling? The one thing that really hit me on a psychic level was she didn't want, according to her mouth, the clip I saw, she did not want her followers having children. Not her followers, like whoever's sitting at their home behind a TV screen watching her. The people that live on her compound with her. She wanted no babies coming into it. So if you're in a cult and you have kids, whatever, it's not good for the cult, right? But The reason she's doing it, because I asked on a psychic level, is because of the type of work that she's doing in this life and the inability in the most recent past life to do that work. She does not want, now just try to entertain this for a second. So you're in a commune with her and you're living with her. So therefore your attention is on her. Your energy is vibrating towards her so that she can do her work. This is what the people who follow her, really follow her, I'll call it commune, inner commune, do. They've given up their life in lieu of rent and food, somewhere to stay and somewhere to eat, in order to follow her and her mission and elevate her. So she is in fact using their energy to elevate self. So, I mean, this happens in all work. You have a person who does this and the people that help them underneath. That makes sense to me, but they have gone to like elevate her. So on a psychic level, a woman is a portal. So her womb is used as a portal between the dimension and this dimension, that dimension, this dimension. So if you have people that's energy is aligned with teals and they want to get pregnant, then doesn't it stand to reason that your past life enemy can come through one of your followers through the womb, through birth, and grow up around you in order to undermine you? Because that's what she's afraid of. And I got that blew my mind. That's actually why she says no kids. She'll tell you it's for other reasons, but that's the reason. She does not want to be blocked in this life from pursuing her path. That is what has happened in the past life. She has been blocked. She wants none of it in this life. None of it. Some of the things that she talks about and speaks about make perfect sense energetically. And when she talks about mental illness like borderline personality, bipolar, schizophrenia, which she says she's been diagnosed with, you have to remember the medical society's invested in you listening to them because they make money off you, as does she. But that doesn't mean that either one is wrong. The medical society often will take mental illness as a mental defect, like you have a broken brain. So you need these pills, which is what a psychiatrist does, is prescribe pills, not get to the root of trauma. What Teal's saying is she wants to get to the root of trauma because she believes mental illness is based in trauma. I tend to agree with her. I know it is a spiritual frequency that's off balance, whether you've had trauma or not. There's some sort of spiritual frequency. Mainstream doesn't allow for that. When they say to her, how does she have the authority to teach people this or to whatever? They're right, but how does anybody have the authority? Because we know that you can heal yourself, but we're told we can't, right? And that's my thing. I know she does the typical like become certified by me thing. First of all, no one has the authority to certify anyone else, and you usually have to pay. So it's really about money. And if a practitioner comes to you and says, I was certified by this person, that doesn't mean anything to me. Just because they have a gift does not mean you have a gift. So it's authentic in your nature and it's vibrational to who you are. I don't think you can certify it. There are people that have mental imbalances in their brain and they need to be taken care of with medicine. So it's a very dicey sword. And when you look at psychiatry, they follow Freud quite a bit, and Freud is a known pedophile and a drug user. That's all I'm going to say there. So a lot of what he feels is, you know, who cares? He was high and he was like with children. So no. But when we're looking at her, she does have a responsibility to do her healing work as best she can. The people who go to her, it's their responsibility. She's not forcing them to be there. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do it. But the reason she wants to block children coming through is because she doesn't want enemies being reincarnated into the physical sense, into her physicality, like her location, and blocking her. She actually believes that. She can actually feel that. So she is psychic. She is getting that. But it stems from the mother wound. One of her biggest issues, although she might not admit it, is the energy between her and her mother. It was always problematic for her. And as such, it caused a lot of wanting to get attention for why she didn't get attention as a child. So there was never enough attention, which is a little bit energetically siphoning of other people's energy. And again, when you look at an area, any kind of healing area, now she does retreats and stuff. I don't know that that's that odd, because a lot of people do them. I mean, Tony Robbins is another one that follows that platform. You know, we're going to help you do it. I'm going to certify people. I mean, who is he to certify people? Same thing. Who is he? His experience. What is his experience? Like, why him and not them? So people have information to give. So I think when you look at her, you should look at it from that standpoint, as she has information to give. And the information that she has to give may be useful to you. If you're fully reasonable and rational, you should know that you can throw information out. You don't have to listen to everything. You're not obligated to do exactly what she says in the manner in which she says it. So when I look at the energy of Teal Swan, I think she is getting more focused on self than perhaps she should be, and she's more paranoid around what's happening around her, but that's because she can pick up on the energy and people want to take her down. Okay, anytime you're successful in this dimension, they want to take you down. It doesn't matter who you are. You could invent Windows again. They want to take you down. They want you to not do what you do. So she's rightfully so paranoid. I don't know that what she says is inaccurate. It's a different way of looking at it, and you have to see if it resonates with you or not. It might not resonate with you. But what I can tell you is she's very observant of what happened to her in a past life, what's happening in this life, and what can potentially happen in this life. So she is a heightened energy. I'm just really still not clear on what that is, what that heightened energy is with her. Because again, when you're traumatized in a ritual growing up, ritual sexual abuse is really, we're going to say what it is. Satanic ritual abuse, but sexual abuse in there. You will split your personality. You will do that. You will become different people. And so I think that that's maybe what we're talking about, is alters coming in and out. So she will behave one way over here and another way over here and another way. The other thing that I found seriously really funny when I looked at it psychically is the fact that she's been married 5 times. I'm like, oh my God, Liz Taylor much? But she's such a young woman to have been married 5 times. Usually 1 or 2 times, like, you pretty much know. And any more after that is unhealed heart trauma from before. You haven't healed something. You cannot fix it through connecting with another partner. You have to heal yourself. What's even more fascinating with that is that on an energy level, this is what I picked up. Her partners, her husbands, have been people that have been past life enemies, born into this life. She's doing battle with them. She's at war with them. Just listen to this. That is why she married them, so that she could marry them, connect with them, and cut the connection off, and therefore cut the karma off on a deep level. She did it physically, she did it psychically, and she did it contractually on this planet. That was her intention. So her 5 marriages are rooted in people that she was at war with on an energy level. Control their energy, discard their energy. I'm going to control it, I'm going to discard it. That's where she's coming from on a psychic level, which kind of an interesting take on why she married these 5 people in particular. It was to destroy them and to push them away energetically so that they can't get in her frequency range and stop her from doing what she needs to do. She's aware that people want to stop her, and she does not want you to stop her. That's not what she wants to have happen. So there's this discrepancy in her personality. She's acutely aware of who is not in her best interest, and that can make you paranoid. She's built a conglomeration on spirituality, which is a good thing, you know, but again, when people teach their method, that involves the ego. This is my method. Well, your method, as in referring or in reference to Teal Swan, your method is not your method. It's healed through you. It's coming from source. So when you say your method, you're bringing your earthbound ego into it. And that's just the way it is. It's not your method. And you shouldn't be accrediting anybody with your method. I don't know what to say about that, because it's not yours. You are a channel for the information, or at least that's the way it's been designed to come through, because no human being has the ability to really understand fully what the information is coming from the other dimension. It's two different worlds. It's two different areas. It's different. So your way of doing it may be your way, but that can change, and that's a human emotion. Do you see what I'm saying? So she's caught in this crossfire of two different energies. Healer, human. Healer, altruistic, human ego. She's right in the middle of it. And I think maybe leaning a little bit more to the egotistical side of it. And that still is not saying she doesn't do good through the work that she does. This is the way I see it. And once again, my name is Sloan from SloanBella.com.